Hi, George Durkee with the introductory video for Geography 66 at Columbia College. This will be creating web maps with ArcGIS Online. And in this video, we'll just get some of the basics out of the way, how to sign in to your account at ArcGIS Online. You should have gotten a login and password from me. If you didn't, be sure to get a hold of me. And the best way is to use my home email and not my college email. Both work, but I check the home email a lot more, and so you'll get a hold of me faster, and then I'll resend the uh, login and password if you didn't get it. In this particular video, we'll cover the basics of sign-in, what a story map is, and I'll just show you some examples, and what the workflow is. And in later videos, we'll go over gathering data and creating web maps, and we'll create a couple of web maps. And then from those web maps that you create, we'll create a web app. Web app is slightly different. It's the public facing, it's usually the public facing map that folks can look at. It's a little more streamlined and easier to use than the web map will be doing.
And now let's take a look at some actual online maps created using ArcGIS Online. And you'll find in this class I have a tendency to show fire or emergency operations related maps. That's what I started in, and so fire, search and rescue, and other incident type maps. But you guys may never uh, want to use or create incident maps. Uh, and obviously that's fine. That's great for this class. Um, but the workflow is essentially the same for all maps, whether you're making it using Arc Pro or Arc Online. You have something you want to say, and then the question is, can you say it more effectively through showing it on a map? And so you decide, obviously, what it is you want to say, and then you start gathering the data, the feature classes, or creating feature classes and photographs and so on that you want to put on the site. And then you just sort of throw it all together as a draft. And these are the workflows that are pretty standard. And that's why even search and rescue or fire maps are pretty useful to learn, because you're learning a workflow and you're learning file structures, where to keep those files and how to search for them online. So you'll notice in this map, which is the Tuolumne County Fire Information Map, that it's pretty basic. You can look at it, you can see where existing fires are, you can see place names, Tuolumne, Soulsbyville, etc. It's got road closures, a perimeter of an existing fire, and over on the right here, were there to be an actual fire or other emergency, there'd be polygons showing whether it's an evacuation order or a warning. And once the emergency is over with, they'd be changed to green to show that it's safe to go back home again. And a few years ago, a couple of us started putting these maps together because initially, years ago, your only warning of a fire came across either the radio or via Nixle, the text alert service, which told you if there was an evacuation. And it would give street names being the boundary of the evacuation, whether it was an order or a warning. And obviously that's great, but it's all text-based and it didn't show you where those areas were. So if you were either new to the county or, you know, you didn't know where those boundary streets were, you you wouldn't really know what's going on. But if you have a map up, you can show uh, where the incident is, and then you can even look it up here under Find Address or Place and find out where you are in relation to the incident and in relation to any evacuation zones, as well as, of course, all the evacuation, all the roads you can take out to safely get away. And the good news is these have become the standard throughout California. The Office of Emergency Services, for instance, compiles not only the websites for each county, but it also compiles all of the evacuation zones that are created and keeps it all on a server that then feeds it out to other areas. Now you'll notice that the Tuolumne County map uh, uses what's called masking to, it shows adjoining counties in kind of a gray. You can still see through it. You can still see the roads and the terrain, but Tuolumne County itself is pretty well lit up here, so you can see the area of emphasis and all the, as I said earlier, all the closed roads and so on and so forth. And it has links to our adjoining counties, uh, or for Yosemite Park, so that you can look at their evacuation maps and emergency information. And I'm also happy to say that the person who created this map is a Columbia College GIS graduate. So so that's pretty cool. So you see, you can go on and do great things from our GIS program. And so the other types of maps we'll look at are story maps. And as the name implies, these are uh, websites, sometimes including maps, although they don't have to, that tell a story. So in this case, the Stanislaus National Forest has what they're calling the shift, which emphasizes the change from uh, the Forest Service doing fire suppression of every fire to uh, starting to do what's called prescribed fire and thinning of the forest. Some of you may know that we've been doing full fire suppression for over 100 years now. Native Americans for thousands of years would purposely light the forest to favor particular species that they needed to eat or use for their shelter or anything. Or lightning fires, of course, also contributed to fires burning throughout the Sierra probably every 8 years, or 8 years to 15 years was a natural fire cycle for any given area. But when we started to suppress fires starting in the early 1900s, all of that vegetation kept growing and kept building up because fires didn't come through to burn it. And so anyway, maybe that's a little TMI for you folks, but this is a pretty important subject to know and to keep up on, because the Stan is going to start a pretty aggressive program of prescribed fire. They're burning down the South Fork off Highway 108, for instance, and they've been doing burning throughout the forest. Anyway, so they're getting around. They've just posted this website a couple of months ago, which, as I said, they call the Shift. And this is a story map, even though there's only a few maps on here. But, nice opening screen, a title, and when they put it up. And you'll notice over here on the lower left is that little down arrow, which indicates that you can scroll down. And so you can use the mouse wheel or page down or whatever to go through the whole story. So they give you a little explanation here, dramatic photo of fire, and a little bit of active burning here. There we go. You got to get a sweet spot here to get it to burn. Anyway, a really good story map, and I will provide a link in the assignment on Canvas, so you can go and take a closer look at it. And now we'll look at some other story maps.
And here's another one where you can actually scroll through Sounds of the Wild West, and uh, it it's an audio tour, and so it plays audio of what you'll hear. And notice here in the lower left, it's got a little down arrow to remind you that you can just scroll down, and it gives you text and explanation of what you're going to hear. And you keep going down. I don't know if you can hear. Oh yeah, okay. I hope you get that on the recording here, but here's the Yellowstone geyser. You can hear the gurgling and the mud pods going, which is kind of cool actually. And here's one of the maps we'll actually be creating using Experience Builder. And this shows the dashboard and the tools available for Experience Builder. And in it, we'll see several layers. It'll show a building layer, all the structures in Tuolumne County. And then it shows the vegetation density that was determined in a 2011 overflight for LiDAR. And LiDAR sends a laser ping down, and it's reflected back off everything in the way. Then it sends a zillion little pings down, and each one will reflect back up and be recorded. And so you get a really good profile of the vegetation and a very accurate elevation profile of the ground. And that's pretty valuable for a number of reasons. But one thing that another GIS nerd and I put together was the relative density of vegetation in Tuolumne County. And this helps estimate, and it's only an estimate, of relative fire danger. So the red, it's ramped from the least dense in gray here to the most dense in red. And then what one of us is trying to do is relate that to structure loss, potential structure loss in a fire. And that's using data from other fires in Butte County and other places. So it's pretty valuable stuff. There has the potential to be pretty valuable stuff. And so that's a flat 2D image. When we turn it into the web app, and again using this particular dashboard, the Experience Builder, we'll have it in 2D, but up here in the menu, you can also see it in 3D. And so I'm zooming in using my mouse wheel and kind of arranging it, and you can rotate it to see slope. And again, this helps you visualize the terrain a lot better. And layered on top of that, as I said, is this vegetation. And so at the top is the very recent mock fire at Moccasin that happened about 3 weeks ago. And that's the perimeter of it. That comes off of server-based data and a little label for 3D. And you can also turn stuff on and off, so we get rid of the perimeter so you can see the underlying vegetation. You can also get rid of the LiDAR data, so you can just see where the buildings are. So here's a whole bunch of buildings up here, for instance. Anyway, those are just the basics of what we'll be covering in this class, and also later on we'll actually be gathering field data, and I'll show you two apps, Survey 123 and or Quick Capture, which are two great ways of gathering data and then putting them on your map in the field. And both allow you to take a photograph of something in the field. It'll mark where it's taken. You can add information. One of our students a year or two ago did all the junked cars on her on her family property and showed it from satellite image, and then photos of each individual junked car out there. Another student did cemeteries of Tuolumne County, which is pretty neat. So be thinking, although there's a few maps I want everybody to do, and even the final projects will have one or two, I haven't decided yet. Um, but I'll have one you can just follow step by step, but it would be much cooler if you guys did something that appeals to you. And it doesn't have to be overly complicated, but just show that you understand the basics of creating a web map and app. So, okay, that's all I've got now. On the assignments, you'll see the assignments and when they're due. Your first map will be due on Friday of this week, and then the apps early the following week, and we'll just go week by week. So thanks for taking the class, and I look forward to working with all you guys.